We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show, episode 323. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. Behind another microphone is the one and only, the Scholars of Wrestling party champion, the one and only Mr. Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Well, considering how crazy this week has been for pretty much everyone, I would say I'm doing pretty well. And now with these behind the microphone jabs, intros, I feel like you're just throwing jabs at Brian now.
It's like, I am not. I swear to you, this is just a force of habit. Now that we have multiple microphones, multiple cameras, thank you, COVID. It's the one high point of this. It's just a force of habit at this point.
I'm expecting to look down at Brian's screen. It's like, and now behind another microphone, and then you just see Brian not talking about me, bastard.
But we are indeed talking about him because he is joining us as always, the one and only, last but certainly ever, never not least, the one and only Mr. Scholar Brian. Scholar Brian, how is your evening going, sir?
My evening is going quite well, except for the fact that I noticed that someone's not here.
Yes, our current reigning and defending Scholars of Wrestling heavyweight champion, Scholar Charlie, is unfortunately away on assignment this evening.
No. Let's not sugarcoat it. Okay. He has a meeting. Okay.
So don't we all sometimes?
No. I know what's really going on. Okay. He sees the greatness that is the undisputed Scholar and the longest reigning Scholars of Wrestling champion. Up and down, side by side, and he can't fucking take the heat. And he knows it. So he's spending the time he has with the title. He's spending it well. Okay. And he's holding it nice. He's giving a little cuddle. Okay, because he knows in a couple weeks he's no longer going to have that thing. And and because of this, okay, he's not here tonight because he doesn't want to face facts.
The odds are stacked against him. I mean, I don't think there's ever been of any of us who actually successfully defended the Scholars of Wrestling Championship when it comes to the Royal Rumble.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say it's pretty much a sure thing that we'll have a new champion, but it's never looking good for the incumbent champion.
I'll say it for you.
Hell, when it comes to statistics, Jeff has the best chance of winning the title at the Rumble, since he won the title last year and the year before.
Yeah,
I knew that. Sure, let's go with that.
Yep.
Hey man,
that's why I'm
the undisputed Scholar. I'm the one with the stats here.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I'm
not going to argue that one.
What? Jeff doesn't want to say it. I'll say it. Coming out of Royal Rumble, doesn't matter who, Charlie's not walking out of there with the Scholars of Wrestling Championship. I'm gonna make sure of it.
When it comes to Charlie, he has the longest reigning Scholars of Wrestling champion. He has the undisputed Scholar, and he has the guy who's the best Rumble game of the Scholars. So yeah,
I have a title. Yay!
I had to include you. Fool, because yeah. When it comes to the Rumble game, it's a big deal for us. Hell, I even won this at the last year's Rumble.
Of course, now we said all this nonsense. Just watch. Everything is going to be jinxed this year.
Yeah, Charlie's just going to just win it all.
We said everything else under the sun. Now I guess we got to get to the show proper.
Because you're saying everything we're saying is we're going to be jinxed, so I might as well say that so that could be jinxed.
Our jinxes are overlapping, so our jinxes have jinxes. So now we have come full circle. Now that everything is completely random again, let's kick off the rest of the show the proper way with a little segment we like to call Backstage News.
Indeed, we shall go ahead and peek behind the curtain at the greatest time of the year for us wrestling fans, Royal Rumble season, and check in on a little
Backstage News. We're all better than you, man.
Oh.
The shots never stop. Shots.
Man. I enjoy your guys' feud, but now it's just becoming a full-on hate boner for each other.
You know what? When he
don't even answer that. I don't want to hear about hate boners or anything of the sort.
See,
I wasn't going to backstage news, please.
You had to notice all the times when either one of them aren't here, they're trash talking each other. They just can't get each other out of each other's minds.
I choose to block out certain things.
Well, guess what? I'm going to make it impossible.
And that sure is a segue, talking about backstage news topics. Coming out of last week, I'm really surprised to learn this, but looking at what's been going on with AEW with Brody Lee's son, Brody Lee Jr., for lack of a more actual names, details about his contract with AEW, which is apparently a legit contract, have been released. Because he's a minor, it will take effect, but under certain conditions. Obviously, if AEW is still around, if he turns 18, and if he still wants a job in the wrestling industry. So, yeah, this is not a ceremonial thing. It's a legit contract offered by Tony Khan.
And from what it looks like, they're having him showing up on AEW Dark. I still haven't seen that clip yet, but
like legit, if he keeps, just from what I saw on Dark, okay, that just if he actually wants to start like training and actually like do this, like he's already well on his way in the character department.
Do they actually call him do they call him like the negative one?
They call him
or is that just something I see on social media?
No, like he's -1.
He is -1?
Mm-hmm.
He's -1. Like you've got 10, you've got 90 something. Was it there like a 90 number that really didn't mean anything?
Anna J is 99.
I know that Anna J is 99, but I mean, like there's like a jobber member that doesn't really have a name that's also like a 92 or something like that. But yeah, he did he cut a promo on Marco Stunt because why not? And then Luther was doing commentary for one of the matches, and he said, "You've got a ball on your face. Your face just looks stupid." I'm just
boy.
And when you're 10 years old and you're already cutting promos like that,
like the kid is going to be made.
Yeah, and
if he wants it.
If you look at his training videos and the stuff that he was doing with Liv Morgan and TJ Wilson and Adam Cole and all the stuff he was doing at the backstage at the tribute show, I'm like,
plus beating the hell out of everyone with a kendo stick. Yeah.
beating the hell out of people with a kendo stick. He's got his dad's lariat down. That's it.
Sure as hell hope so.
So it's like, I'm all for it when it comes. I probably hasn't signed it yet, but I mean, like, it's written up. It's like, it's there. It's one of the, and when it happens, I wouldn't be adverse to it, just from what I've seen so far. Just like everything about this story is heartwarming as fuck right now.
And speaking of heartwarming as fuck, pardon my language, but you know what? Coming out of the recent Wrestle Kingdom 15, I don't know about you, but I'm very pleased with the final result.
What is coming out of it?
Because we've got a new double champion in one Kota Ibushi. Long deserved, in my opinion, and for multiple reasons. But for the rest of you, I'm going to pitch it over to you guys first. Immediate reactions, and were you actually able to catch these matches?
I feel like Kota Ibushi had to happen this year, or it wasn't going to work if they waited any longer. Like, I mean, like, this was the time. Like, you thought last year was the time, but last year was the time for Naito. It's one of those things that NJPW does so well. They build you up, and then not before. They don't do it too early. They don't do it too late. Like, they set you up for the perfect time to give you what you need, which is why Naito needed to beat Ibushi last year at Wrestle Kingdom, and why Ibushi needed to win this year. Like, for Ibushi, I'm like, because if Naito didn't win last year, then Naito wouldn't have worked. Okay, and if they waited again on Ibushi, then it wouldn't have worked. What they did this year would not have worked next year.
Oh yeah, no
if they
doubt.
Waited another year. That's why it's like, if they waited another year for Naito last year and did Ibushi last year, okay, Naito being champion wouldn't have worked. They needed to do Naito first because of how they built him up. And they needed to do Ibushi this year. And it also works because you've got Omega as champion in the States, you've got Ibushi as the champion in Japan, and there's that whole correlation with it. So if they wanted to do something,
are you insinuating that they're going to be setting up for some sort of Golden Lovers cross continent title?
If there was any collaboration that needs to happen, if there was anything that could get NJPW and AEW to collaborate, it would be Ibushi and Omega. Anything else probably wouldn't make any sense.
Very interesting.
But Ibushi as champion in NJPW and Omega as champion in AEW, it's like, it gets the mind rolling.
An intriguing prospect, to be sure. I'm not sure if this is just my cynicism coming out, where I'm like, as much as I'd love to see it happen, I'm not.
Yeah.
It seems plausible enough, though. So it's like, that's what's bugging me now.
Yeah, it's like, I don't expect it to happen, but if it was going to, if there was going to be a crossover, it just makes sense. Just the perfect time to give Ibushi the big role in NJPW is when his best friend has the big role in the United States.
Oh boy! On that note, I'm just going to pitch it over to.
I'm not saying that equals a crossover. And then you have the whole Jay White situation.
Oh, before we even touch that, Tarek, I want to get your thoughts on this because it seems like we're sort of at a stalemate between the two of us. Immediate thoughts on Kota Ibushi's title win, and could this potentially set the stage for a Japan-US cross-promotion between New Japan or AEW? Could it happen, or is it just like fan fiction pipe dream at this point?
Well, when it comes to the actual show, the only match that I was actually was able to watch highlight-wise was Kota Ibushi versus Jay White, which I actually heard compared to the Naito matches. I guess the weaker of two, at least just what from I'm hearing. So I'm going to be looking into the Ibushi Naito match sooner rather than later. But when it comes to the idea of the cross branding, of course, AEW has been basically planning that for a good while now, at least attempting to get some form of deal with New Japan. But I think right now I see it happening later rather than sooner, maybe closer to the end of this year, because it seems the New Japan's main focus right now is just basically getting a television deal. At least getting a television deal first. So
very plausible. That I knew there had to be some catch because it just seemed like way too exciting to be real, too good to be true.
And I mean, like you also have to think like a bunch of AEW's top stars have contracts with NJPW. So I mean, like you would think that they'd at least try to make it happen.
Well, at least try and make it happen, but also maybe a good business idea to at least build a more I guess for the casual audience in America. Start that in with the television deal. Get basically a more fan base over here, other than just us, the diehards, looking into this. So we have AEW guys who have contracts with NJPW. So that still is like, oh, most people don't really know about NJPW to actually care whether or not they have contracts, because for most of the casual audience, the main focus is what's happening in AEW, I would say, and or WWE. But since this is the main focus of trying to make a cross promotion deal, so the main focus is AEW right now.
But and going back to the main point, it's Kota Ibushi had to be the main star at this Wrestle Kingdom. There was no other option. Okay, if you weren't gonna go with them this year, it just wasn't gonna work. This was the time that
if anything,
you needed to throw the hammer down and make him the top star of the company.
Hell, if anything, if they want, like I said, save it for the later end of the year, have like once they actually do get that television deal here in the States, be a big promotion for next year's G1 Climax. And I even read like some people posting, oh, it's because they're building this whole Kenny Omega is going to take the top title of every major wrestling company out that's not including WWE. I could see Kenny Omega trying to win the G1 just so he can go for the title at next year's Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh boy!
So
all right,
long-term booking.
Oh boy, this is just getting.
I actually see Kenny Omega actually trying to win the G1 to go for the title and like have that be the Mind Stone of his Thanos Infinity Glove,
and then have Kota be the one to finally shut him down.
Yeah, that would be fun. That's fun fantasy booking.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though. It sounds too logical, and considering this is in WWE, To me, that means there's an outside chance, and I don't want to believe. But you know what? That's not even the end of the story, is it? Brian, you even were starting to creep into that territory. Tell us all about it. Where
That's
the
the
rumor
weird thing.
mill is saying that even Jay White is possibly maybe going to WWE soon. His contract's up. It's supposedly WWE is heavily courting him. What's Jay White going to do on top of all this mess?
NXT. Go to
All-
NXT because
No,
stay away from the main roster.
I'm going to say the same thing that someone said on Twitter today. If Jay White comes to WWE, okay, he needs to go the AJ Styles route. He can't do the Shinsuke route. Okay, he needs to show up on the main roster as a top guy right away, or he's already going to be a failure. Because this is how WWE works. If you start off in NXT, if you start off in NXT, that's a problem.
But here's the question,
how WWE works. That's just how it works.
Factually speaking, I see what you're saying. But the big question here is, in my mind, if Jay White does come to WWE, which one do you think is the most likely scenario to happen? Is he going to wind up directly to the main roster, or is he going to go directly to NXT?
I honestly think he'll go directly to the main roster.
Is that what you want or what you think?
I think. Okay, because the only two New Japan guys who went to NXT were Nakamura and Kenta. Okay. Everybody else who came from NJPW went straight to the main roster.
Here's the
thing. You
had
Gallows and Anderson. You had AJ Styles. It's just like, if you want to treat him as a main guy, it's a bad fit. And I don't think he would take the contract if they were going to tell him to go to NXT first.
Except I'm not so sure about that. Because I think it's fairly common knowledge between the workers at this point, the kind of reputation that NXT has. There are certain workers who just really want to work in the NXT environment and not go up to the main roster. However, there are certain ones that are just happy to have the paycheck at this point in their careers. I'm convinced that AJ Styles, that may be swaying his opinion somewhat. But ultimately,
I'm fairly certain that Jay White would not leave NJPW if he wasn't going to be on the main show in front of 2 million people. I just don't feel like that's him. Okay, you have those people like the Johnny Garganos who don't want to leave NXT because they love the environment and all that. I don't see Jay White as that kind of guy. Jay White wants I don't see Jay White being happy with an NXT spot. I just don't.
Very interesting.
When he is a top guy in the main event of the biggest show in Japan, main event, going an hour, okay, and he's going to leave that. Yeah, you have great matches in NXT, But really, okay, let's face it, the casuals don't know you.
That was going to be my sort of the thing that gives me the most pause.
Yeah, the
Because
casuals don't know you in NXT. He's
the
that guy.
mainstream doesn't seem to know Jay White as much as some of the other Japanese imports, quote unquote, that WWE have gotten under the umbrella. So even if he would want to jump right to the main roster, the big question in my mind is he a big enough name that he would be able to do that?
And let's completely face it, okay? The only person, there's only maybe 3 people in NXT, okay, who, if you went up to a casual WWE viewer right now and asked, name 4 people from NXT. Okay, you'd get Johnny Gargano, you'd get Karrion Kross, you'd get Finn Balor, and you'd get Adam Cole. Anybody else, a casual would not know. Okay, so starting Jay White off in NXT wouldn't be doing him any favors.
Well, speaking of NXT, we do still have a good chunk of news coming out of there as well, because not only is the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic coming back for 2021, for the first time ever, we are getting a women's tag team classic, which is very exciting to me.
Yeah,
we already have some of the crew coming in for the men's side. Let's see if we can pull this up here.
I was about to say, yes. Did they announce the brackets?
They announced most of the teams. They've got Johnny Gargano and Austin Theory. They've got Undisputed Era. They've got Legado del Fantasma. I'm sure I'm probably butchering that. I'm sorry. Kushida and Leon Ruff, Jake Atlas and Isaiah Swerve Scott, Imperium, the Grizzled Young Veterans, Everrise, Drake Maverick and Killian Dane, Breezango, the Bollywood Boys, and August Gray and Kurt Stallion. So,
I feel like that one. I feel like that one is pretty much given that Gargano and Theory are going to take that. I kind of feel that way. Just going off the names in that list.
Well, they certainly do seem to be one of the more noteworthy team names, at least the ones with more of a name recognition level.
They're the ones who have a story and are like a main part of the show.
They're at least going to the finals.
Yeah, they're definitely going to the finals, and I feel like they're taking the thing. So it's like, at least for me, the men's Dusty Rhodes Classic is kind of predictable. You're still gonna get great matches out of it, but it's like the men's Dusty Rhodes is like, meh, okay, cool.
But here's my question. What teams are you expecting or would like to see in the women's Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic?
Don't ask me that because I have no idea. I don't know who I would want to see.
That's why I asked. Like, what kind of teams do we possibly see out of this?
That's why I'm so excited about it. It's like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
What do you have? What are they doing? What is it, like an 8-team, 16-team? It's a 16-team tournament. I didn't even know they had that many women in NXT.
I'm going to make an early prediction. I don't know anything else beyond just this is happening, but I'm going to make a crazy prediction based off of what they've done with previous tournaments of this format. I think they're going to import some women's tag team wrestling from the Joshi scene in Japan. Like, I think they're going to
they have
a team from Stardom or two.
They have to. Like, I don't know how else they're going to supplement.
Hell, they're going to throw in Charlotte and Asuka.
God damn it.
Don't ruin this for me, please.
I had to do it. It's like they're the women's tag team champions.
Charlotte
They technically
said it,
could show up on NXT.
No, it's like Charlotte.
Yeah, they could, couldn't they?
She's got to win. Oh, well.
I had to do it.
Charlotte wins, lol.
Charlotte wins, lol.
Yeah.
It's not even Charlotte and Asuka wins. Charlotte wins, lol.
Like I said.
Charlotte wins and Asuka just stands there in the corner. That's it.
Speaking of blank wins, lol, we had another moment of potentially like that, or at least a trip down memory lane in that regard. Because this week on Raw, on Legends Night, we had the sudden appearance of Goldberg again.
Nobody won on Legends Night. Nobody. That show, woof.
It's just another example of Raw. I don't care if they got the rating over 2 million viewers. That show was just horrible. Oh my God!
I was telling you guys, I actually fell asleep before the end of the show. So at the time, I totally missed Goldberg coming out at the time. So,
and I'm like, you bring in all these people. Okay, here's the problem with Legends Night. They bring in 100 people. Okay.
Even that.
They only have actual good spots for 3 or 4 of them. And those were the Big Show, Mark Henry, Ric Flair, and Goldberg. Okay, the other 96, they just stood there and took shit. They just stood there and just and then when you...
It's the same thing they always do when they decide, hey, we're going to have a night where all the legends come back.
Exactly. That's why no one gives a shit anymore.
Well, the casuals certainly gave a shit. I mean, this is their highest number, this is their highest number of viewers of the last few months.
Well, here's the problem. Okay, the last Legends Night did what, the high 2s, 2.9, 2.8. It doesn't. Here's the deal. Okay, the show sucked. As it always did. Goldberg cuts a promo on Drew McIntyre for a promo that Drew McIntyre never cut.
It definitely felt like a Randy Orton promo, considering it was Orton that basically took a dump on all the legends.
From what I understand, Drew McIntyre was supposed to cut a promo,
but they didn't. They were short on time. Yeah,
that might have showed some disrespect to some legends. And then Goldberg was supposed to come out and say that. But then Drew McIntyre never cut the promo, and Bill Goldberg is completely incapable of improvisation.
Well, he came out looking like a complete asshole, and he did his normal routine of slamming his head on a backstage before coming out because he was completely delusional and muttering his words, messing up his lines, repeating himself, and completely delusional. I'm like, dude, you're almost 60. Stop slamming your head on shit.
And here's the
I'm
deal.
ready for my title win, Mr. Hogan.
And here's the deal with Goldberg. Okay, we've said this before, and we've been screwed over time and time again when it comes to Goldberg. Okay, if he's here to give a quick victory for Drew McIntyre, just Drew McIntyre goes over him quick 3-5-minute match.
Kind of have to.
We said that with the Fiend too. That's why I'm not. That's why I'm not counting on it. That's why it's that is a must. Okay, Drew McIntyre, you give him the 3 to 5 minute win, because if you don't, and Bill Goldberg goes over again, okay, that's as much as Jeff thinks that the Fiend came back from that. Okay, I for me, he still hasn't. Okay, that was the for me that was the death of what the Fiend was supposed to be. Okay, and if he does that to Drew McIntyre now, again, that's why it's like when he came out, you would think that the first reaction would be like, "Yay, it's Goldberg, whatever," but it's like, no, this has happened before.
Weren't they actually piping in booze at this point, though?
I don't think they were piping it in. I think that was people actually in that was the people in the Thunderdome.
Very interesting.
But it's like you cannot have what happened last year happen again and cut short your dominant champion. It cannot happen 2 years in a row. I don't care. If Goldberg comes up to you and says, no one would believe that Drew McIntyre could beat me, you do not agree with that shit again, Vince McMahon.
Yeah, hopefully they've learned their lesson by now. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more to elaborate on in the coming weeks before the Rumble. But in the meantime,
it really makes me think, wow, it made me agree with what Mustafa Ali said on Raw Talk afterwards about the whole, and I quote, I know exactly the generation before me paved the way, but when the hell are you going to let me walk that path? Guys like Drew Gulak, Akira Tozawa, myself, and all of Retribution, not on the show. Why? Because we need to hear what you're going to do, brother, again for the 7th millionth time. Like, wow. Why are you the heel right now? Because you are absolutely right. And you're saying exactly what most of us are thinking. You made us agree with Mustafa Ali. Damn it.
Because we are wrestling fans in an imperfect world. But elsewhere, as the week rolls on, when we check in on Wednesday nights, we looked at AEW, and what did we see closing the show? A whole lot of this. Yes, we got an invasion from Gallows and Anderson, and what was the last thing we saw? We saw the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Gallows and Anderson all too sweeting, throwing up the signs of the Bullet Club. Fellas, I'm just going to pitch it to you. What the heck is going on here? Is this a one-time thing, or what's happening?
No, I think they're actually setting up for, remember that blood and guts match they were supposed to get last year that turned into the Stadium Stampede later on? They're setting up for a big 5-on-5 at this point, because I think you've had on Twitter, FTR has been going against Gallows and Anderson and the Young Bucks. Okay, Hangman Page is going to have something to say about all this. Okay, Jon Moxley's going to be the ringleader. Okay, I think this has been the plan for a long time. And I think the AEW Impact crossover is real. And you're gonna have a whole bunch of people crossing over both shows now. because I wouldn't be surprised to see Moxley on Impact next week.
Very, very
I think that this
interesting.
is just I think that this is just further proof. Okay, because you've had Omega on Impact the last few weeks, and you're like, okay, so this is just how this is going to roll. Omega's going to do pre-taped vignettes on Impact, and and he's going to have a match or two here or there, and he's going to go on his titles kick or whatever. But then Gallows and Anderson showed up on AEW. And you're like, oh.
That happened. Finally.
Okay.
That was my reaction. My reaction to the whole thing. It's surprising because I knew it was inevitable that Gallows and Anderson were going to show up on Dynamite Kick because, of course, they were hinting at it all over their social media. So when it finally happened, it didn't leave that much of an impact, no pun intended, on me. So I saw it, and I'm just like, oh, finally, it happened. Cool.
But now that they have...
It really was their biggest thing that happened on Dynamite Kick this week. So,
but it's
a good deal. It's a good thing. I actually am enjoying. I'm intrigued by it. But it didn't like, it didn't leave like, oh my God, this is the biggest thing to happen right now. It didn't leave that kind of like.
Yeah, it's not that goosebumps.
I didn't lose my shit like most wrestling fans did after that happened.
Yeah, it's not that goosebumps moment, but it's that moment that you realize, like, okay, this AEW Impact thing, they're going all out on it. They're going to.
It's really hard to stop pulling out these puns. Going all out.
Yeah.
That didn't leave an impact.
But I mean, like, you're going to see matches with Impact talent on AEW, and you're going to see matches on Impact with AEW talent. That's just
wonder how long it's gonna take for Rich Swann to show up on Dynamite Kick.
Very. I don't want to say very interesting. I feel like I've been hitting that too much.
I possibly he might be on that team that I was talking about for the 5-on-5. Imagine this: Jon Moxley, Rich Swann, Hangman Page, and FTR versus Kenny Omega, Gallows and Anderson, and the Young Bucks.
It's got to be a fun match.
Come on.
It is going to be a fun match.
With the way you're talking.
Have Jon Moxley be the reason that Kenny Omega and Gallows and Anderson lose at Hard to Kill?
Let me just pitch this now that you're going down this road and just like setting up all these different combinations. Scholar's Quick Talk for you all. Is this eventually going to lead to a Impact AEW cross-branded pay-per-view?
Oh, absolutely.
Easy.
Absolutely.
Easy. That's what this has all been leading to. It's not going to be an invasion. It's just going to be
cross-promotion, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Why not at this point?
Oh, yeah. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
It'll probably be their big like summer show.
And I mean, like, it's one of those, like, AEW promotes competition. So it's like, why not bring other – you're already bringing the NWA guys in. Look at Eddie Kingston and Ricky Starks.
Hell, they'll probably do their – like, it probably won't be like an original name show. It'll probably be like AEW and Impact Wrestling presents Double or Nothing, and they'll have AEW and Impact stars fighting in that gauntlet match.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have to at this point. You can't just have your main stars crossing over. I mean, like, if you're good. like I love this that we're able to have this now that we have AEW in the mix, because you can do this cross brand stuff that you couldn't do when it was WWE and all the others. Now you have a big brand that's willing to work with the smaller brands, and that's why you have an Eddie Kingston, a Ricky Starks, a Thunder Rosa. You have Serena Deeb defending the NWA Women's title next week against Tay Conti. I mean, like, you would never have seen that on major TV if we didn't have this renaissance that we're having now. So it's like, yeah, wrestling has kind of fallen off in viewership, which it was bound to do at some point. But it's like the interest in these smaller brands is coming up.
And not even that. Like, there seems to be an added edge of unpredictability lately, even with WWE, because as we were talking, just this is being taped on Friday night. Just a matter of hours ago, we got they're setting up the match of Adam Pearce versus Roman Reigns. Like,
and as I said to everybody on the group chat tonight, if you had told me a year ago that I would be coming on this podcast and saying the one thing I look forward to most on WWE TV each week is what's Roman Reigns gonna do next, I would have been like, you're shitting me, right?
Well,
but at this point, at this point, I gotta say, like, it's my number one thing each week.
I'll even go one step further and just not even just the Roman Reigns angle worked on this. It was the biggest thing that came out of this week's show. But when you look at the entire show as a whole, it was actually a very well put together show. And it's just continuing the fact that out of all the shows that happened this week, Raw is still the weakest thing to happen.
Yeah.
SmackDown New Year's Evil, New Year's Smash Night 1, and now just a regular Friday night SmackDown actually putting on a good show. I mean, the Big E, Apollo Crews, we have new tag team champions. And then you have the gauntlet match. It was actually like,
this was a good, solid.
It was actually a very solid show. Yeah, There wasn't a point on SmackDown that actually really got me bored, and it baffles me to think, like, when it comes to the backstage creative in WWE, like, it's kind of hard for me to really believe that Bruce Pritchard is still one of the big guys in charge of the creative on both shows. He definitely has the Raw show written all over it. But the SmackDown show, it just flowed. It flowed.
SmackDown in general, since the draft, has been awesome.
Like, I do have nitpicks. Of course, there always is nitpicks. There hasn't been like a more, like, we're not going to get that Brody Lee tribute, that perfect Brody Lee tribute show.
No.
Those happen once in a blue moon. Like this, even though it was a solid show, there was stuff that I found. I'm just like,
yeah, you'll have nitpicks on every person will have nitpicks on every show. That's just the way it goes. It's just like you only get those Brody Lee shows when stuff like that happens. So it's one of those, if you have one or two minor nitpicks a week, Like, that's the way SmackDown's been for me since August, really. Okay, SmackDown's been great. They've been having a run. So
Hell, the
it's
second half of weekly wrestling has been great. When it comes to AEW Dynamite Kick, NXT, and SmackDown, that's good. They put on good wrestling products. Too bad we don't have the complete with because even though like we do talk about it, I don't watch, like, Impact hasn't done anything, like, even with cross promotion stuff. I don't really go out of my way to try and watch an Impact show.
yeah. No.
Basically, I just read what happens and then just see how it resolves on Dynamite Kick.
And
Yeah.
Scholar's Quick Talk. Does anyone really think that Adam Pearce is going to actually be the challenger at the Royal Rumble?
I'll tell you what, short answer, yes. I don't think it's going to be a straight up match. I'm hoping they'll at least make a halfway decent showing for himself since they discussed his wrestling background tonight, but there's going to be shenanigans. Undisputably shenanigans.
I don't believe that Adam Pearce is actually going to be your Royal Rumble challenger. There's still way too much time in between for shenanigans to take place and a replacement to be named, which I think is you're going to get the rematch at Royal Rumble.
So you're going with Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble for the rubber match.
Yeah. And Roman Reigns will win again. And
We still got three more Smackdowns before the Rumble, so who knows?
exactly. There's 3 more Smackdowns for Adam Pearce to not be the challenger at the Royal Rumble.
Hell, he'll use his WWE official authority to make the WWE Championship a tag team match. Him and Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns and Jey Uso.
That's totally gonna happen now. I believe it.
It's not. It sounds too good to have it actually happen on a Vince McMahon wrestling show.
Then again, with the way the past several weeks have been in wrestling and what we saw this week alone, it seems in this environment it does seem plausible. It does.
And about Nakamura, do we think that his showing actually means something?
On a good show, it will.
Or was it just something to move the plot forward for Pierce?
He definitely got a good face turn. This was definitely a face turn for Nakamura. I don't know where the hell Cesaro was on this show, and it breaks my heart and my penis. But it was definitely a good, strong show for Nakamura. And once he did that handshake with Daniel Bryan, yeah, that was a full-on face turn. And since WWE is kind of being pushed on the idea of actually pushing some stars, I see Nakamura actually getting, if anything, on the same level as Big E, as like a top mid-card.
Very safe bet.
What if it's not Owens and it's Nakamura who takes Pierce's place?
Then my support would be way back and my faith would be restored.
I mean, like, that could happen too. I mean, like, that.
Stop making me believe. I don't want.
Think. Well, first of all, he's not going to win that match, so calm yourself.
That's even worse.
He's not going to beat Roman Reigns. No one's going to beat Roman Reigns until at least WrestleMania. But
it's a Royal Rumble title match. No one cares about him. So no one cares about them. So they can do whatever the hell they want up here.
Nakamura is not going to get the Kofi push. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's build up for a filler title match.
Well, as with a lot of things that happened this week, there's full of speculation. They're full of possibilities. We still have a lot, like you said, we've got to still have a lot of time until the Royal Rumble. So just about anything can happen. We've put our guesses into the ring. No pun intended. So I guess now is when we turn it over to the rest of you, our listening, viewing, wrestling consuming audience, just like us. We want to hear from you. Where are all these things going? What are the matches we're actually going to see at the Royal Rumble? Let us know all across the internet, YouTube comments, Facebook posts, conversations on the Twitter machines, just like we like it. Wherever you are, we want to hear from you. Of course, if you want to join us on our favorite medium, Twitter, you can join us on our main page at ScholarsOW for all the latest episode uploads. Or you can join us on our personal Twitter accounts. Fool, where can they reach you?
You can reach me, your reigning, defending, undisputed Scholars of Wrestling Party champion and the undisputed scholar at the Avataric.
And Scholar Brian, where can they reach you?
You can find me, even though I'm no longer the Scholars of Wrestling champion, still being better than Scholar Charlie at Atomic Beanpole.
And you can find me at I'm Robbie Rage, tweeting out a whole bunch of nonsense, both original and retweeted. But then again, I think you all kind of expect that from us, because let's be real. You know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Stop being a coward, Charlie. I expect you back next week.
See you all there.